over there below is Camp 2, and we are much above Camp 2. Star is here, and this is K2, and here it is, the broad peak. Oh my god. Oh my god. Broad Peak, Shogolisa, उसके आगे Mitre Peak, and the one with the sunlight, Masherbrum. ये शाम फिर नहीं आएगी.
It is indeed a chosen few who get to witness such beautiful evenings and nights. Broad Peak Camp 3, at a daunting altitude of 7,200 meters, about 20-25 climbers and high-altitude porters were all set for the summit push. But it doesn't take much time for conditions to change on high-altitude mountains. And on this fateful night, each climber that left Camp 3 had to turn around and go back without a summit. And what they say is absolutely true. Getting to the summit is only half the journey. It is getting down safely what really matters. And if the summit that you're aiming for is an 8,000er, then getting down is likely to be more riskier than actually climbing to the top.
Hey guys, Saad Mohamed, the DesiMountaineer over here, and you can see Broad Peak behind me. It was quite an attempt. Now we leave. Kal raat ko was all pretty okay, cloudy tha, but then it snowed. Let me show you. आसमान खुल रहा है, पर केटू जो है वो बदस्तूर छुपा हुआ है. We'll be heading this way, कंकोडिया से वाइन ग्लेशियर, उसके ऊपर फिर अली कैंप. तो इंशाल्लाह रात को क्रॉस करेंगे गोंडोगोरो. Let's see how that goes.
I've crossed the Gondogoro Pass 3 times now. And when in 2021, I and Asif Bhatti came down from the higher camps of Broad Peak, I was in no mood to cross the law after what had happened to me in 2018. But looking at his enthusiasm and his keenness to cross the pass, I eventually gave in. It was a bright, sunny morning when we left the base camp, but there was a cold, steady breeze originating from K2 and blowing towards Concordia. Close to Concordia, we jumped across a glacial stream and then entered a network of labyrinth like crevasses and ended up hiking through this very long crevasse. And at the very far end of this crevasse, what I saw, I've never seen such a thing in my 26 years of adventure traveling. What we're looking at is a glacial stream running through a tunnel of pure glacial ice, which is actually the underside of a crevasse that is yet to completely open up. It can take you anywhere between 2 to 4 hours to get from Broad Peak Base Camp to Concordia. In 2021, we sat here under the Mitra Peak for a cup of tea and ran into Sajid Satpara, who had just come down from K2. We sat with him for maybe an hour, and it was a very long and candid conversation. I wish I could have more such conversations with 8000ers. Concordia is a junction point for three massive glaciers, namely Goodwin-Austen, Baltoro, and Upper Baltoro Glacier. And to get to Gondogoro La, you have to get to Wine Glacier, which is unattained to the Upper Baltoro, and you have to go around Mitre Peak southward to get onto this glacier. The Wine Glacier is a massive highway of ice and debris, littered with rock mushrooms here and there. And you have to walk hours on end to get from Concordia to Ali Camp. Ali Camp is a campsite that flanks the Wine Glacier and has been established by the high altitude rescue team comprising of climbers from Hushe. It serves as a base camp for people who are attempting to cross the Gondogoro La. It is always a good idea to get to Ali Camp as early as possible so that you can rest, maybe sleep, and have some food, because the very same night all the trekking parties along with the rescue team set out to cross the high pass. It's pretty pitch dark on the way to the base of the pass, and you really don't get much sense of direction as to where you're headed, and all you can see is really whatever is visible in the meager light of your headlamp. And when you get close to the pass, you can actually get to see the trail of headlamp lights climbing gradually up the steep incline of the 5,600 meter Gondogoro La. Every time that I've crossed this pass, somehow I get left behind. And all three times I've literally been the last man on the line.
"5:30 a.m. almost at the top of the Gondogoro lap. What I want you to see is K2, Broad Peak, Gasherbrum 4, Gasherbrum 3, Gasherbrum 2, and Gasherbrum 1, behind which the sun is rising. Very hard to look at right now. This is the down below from where we came from yesterday, last night. It's been quite a climb. See you on the top.
In 2018, when I crossed this pass for the first time, the weather was very adverse and I couldn't see a single peak while looking back towards Concordia. And in contrast, in 2021, not only were K2, Broad Peak, and the Gasherbrums clearly visible, but the view on the other side of the pass was totally out of this world.
So we're standing on the top of Gondogoro. You can see the Lala Peak in the background. We're going down there into this valley. जो आपको green सा नजर आ रहा, that is Shuspang. In fact, the whole place is Shuspang. Okay.
The other side of the pass is very steep and has a lot of hanging rocks and debris and is very prone to frequent mud and rock slides. And it is very, very risky climbing down on a clear sunny day.
Basically, काफ़ी मोटी रस्सी है, कुछ 15 mm की शायद है. Steps बने हुए हैं. But what you have to do is you have to traverse.
As soon as you climb down to the valley floor, everything changes. On one side is the Gondogoro Glacier, flanked by Lala Peak and other 6,000ers. And to your right, soon comes a green meadow littered with dozens of varieties of wildflowers, the aroma of which intoxicates you. And at the far end of the valley, you can see clearly in its full glory the Lala Peak. After having spent more than 35 days at the base camp and then seeing this lush green meadow, you realize how starved your eyes were for this greenery. The last two times that I crossed the law, I did not get to spend a night at Schussbahn. But this year, in 2022, I decided to stay here, and it was totally worth it.
The lone Italian trekker.
Soon after setting out from Schussbahn, you get onto the Gondogoro glacier, which is initially relatively flat and easier to walk on. Soon after, we arrive at the base of the very distinct Lala Peak. One has to be very lucky to get a clear view of the iconic summit. And this beautiful and rugged 6,096 meters tall Karakoram peak has only been summited maybe twice or thrice. But what has really intrigued me during my 3 crossings of the La is this huge chunk of the Lala Peak Glacier, which is cut off from the main mass, has been lying at the base of the mountain and has been transforming with the elements with each passing year. In 2018, it looked something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but 4 years down the road, it has eroded and melted and has collected a lot of debris. After trekking for roughly 2 hours down this glacier, the valley turns east, and to your right you can see the treacherous ice fall of the east face of Mashabram. And to the left, the Gondogoro Glacier continues, but the trail now goes through the green meadows on the moraine flanking the glacier. And right across the valley, in the middle of another hanging glacier, there's this big, massive rectangular rock structure which looks just like a giant door. And I could almost imagine a giant hiding behind this door, waiting for the right moment to come out and pounce on us. "30 to 40 minutes from where the lush green moraine begins is another campsite which is known as Dil Sangpa. Dil Sangpa is fairly green, has fresh water, and is used as a base camp for expeditions that come to climb Lala Peak.
and we're heading from Dilsampa to Hushe. ज़बरदस्त मैदान, ज़बरदस्त जगह, क्या खुशबू आ रही है. Very good. Shabash, shabash, shabapati. The trail beyond Dilsanpa towards Saicho is very, very interesting. There are multiple stream crossing. There are meadows where yaks and other cattle graze, and there are more wild and exotic flowers and plants at display. And then there are places where you feel as if you're walking through an abandoned or maybe wild fairy tale garden. This is soon followed by an area on the trail which has a large population of wild and very spooky cypress trees. In 2018, I did not spend a night at Shuspang and instead directly went for Saicho, and I had no idea how long that would take. And I ended up walking through this part of the trail almost midnight, all alone, with not a soul in sight for miles on end, trekking alone through these spooky looking trees at that hour of the night was one of the most scariest experiences of my life. As we get closer to Saicho, there is an abandoned campsite to the left down below, which I'd seen in 2021 but was not able to visit. But this time around, I made sure that we went and explored Atosar. जब आखिरी दफ़ा मैं यहाँ ऊपर से गुजरा तो एक बंदा नीचे बैठा हुआ था, एंड आई डिडंट नो कि ये कोई घर भी है. So it was a very haunting thought. It's an amazing place. So doorless house, totally abandoned. दरवाज़ा होता तो पता नहीं क्या क्या स्टोरी बन जाती. This is a weeping willow. मज़ेदार जगह है। Eka, Chizol. Hariat. Poporeka. Sajčeka. Bafta, bafta. Hello, Patti.
Hi,
Mr. Patti, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good.
So today we have last couple of hours to walk. Once for all, we are free for this year.
Yeah,
We have
kinda.
already done a lot of
Kinda.
kind of
Yeah.
achieved. See you.
Thank you, thank you. So ये जो पुरानी ओरिजिनल कैंप साइट है कुछ इसकी साइचो की, यहाँ ये जो रिम के प्यारा सा नदी नाला पानी आया करता था, उसका हुआ ये है कि ऐसा सैलाब आया, मड स्लाइड आई है कि सारा ही बेचारा बीच में दबा गया। यहाँ इनका किचन था, स्टोर था, बड़ा ज़बरदस्त। यहाँ बाहर बैठ के खाना खाने का सिस्टम था। सारी की सारी जगह जो है, खैर कुछ तो बच गया ये, लेकिन जो कैंप साइट थी वो उजड़ गई सारी। यहाँ टेंट लगे होते थे, बड़ी प्यारी सी एक नदी होती थी जिससे आप मुँह हाथ धो सकते थे। Right outside Saicho campsite is the loud and tumultuous Pushe River. And a few hundred meters downstream there's an old rickety bridge which is used for crossing across this river.
In early August 2021, after crossing the bridge, we saw these wild berries growing in the shrubs along the trail. I tried some and they tasted bittersweet and a bit like carrots. After a relatively easy 2 hours hike from Saicho, you arrive at the safety wall that has been built by the people of Hushe to keep their cattle from wandering too far away from the village. And despite this wall, there was a calf that had somehow sneaked outside and now wanted to go back in.
लो जी नाज़रीन, खेत भी मौजूद ने, तुहाडा हीरो भी मौजूद है। बस एक सैयद नूर ते एक हीरोइन दी कमी हैगी इत्थे।
At around 3,000 meters, Hushe is a beautiful green village, which was once considered very remote and is in fact the last village of the Ganche district of Gilgit-Baltistan. It was not until the 1960s that the local population started working with major expeditions as porters, high porters, and cooks. In the summer season, you will find the men from Hushe lugging loads on the Goodwin Austin, the Wine Glacier, and the Upper Baltoro. And in the winter season, most of these men will travel down to major cities and work as cooks and drivers, and sometimes as kitchen help in the most fanciest of restaurants of Lahore, Karachi, and Islamabad. Having crossed the pass 3 times now, if you ask me if I'll venture this way again, without a second thought, I probably will.